Question number 1 on most personal questions. This is from Jennifer. Jennifer says, have you ever called in sick when you weren't actually sick? Raise your hand if you've ever called in sick when you weren't actually sick. 2 people raised their hand.
All right, this one is from
Just try
Win Nagayan. I'm not
Okay.
sure on the name. Have you ever had Can we say?
Say sex.
Okay. Have you ever had sex on the beach?
Ever had sex on the beach? Raise your hand if you have ever had sex on the beach.
Mm.
Our results will be seen at island106.com.
1 person raised their hand.
And try to keep these in raise your hand form, I forgot.
Okay.
Keep in mind, we're all going to pick out 10 questions.
Yeah.
Good God, Miguel, it looks like a long one.
Okay.
Here we
You
go.
want me to ask all these questions?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask them one by one because they're not related.
Who is this from?
This is from Donna Isabel.
Okay.
And the first question she wants to know is, raise your hand if you have ever paid for sex.
Raise your hand if you ever paid money, right?
Yeah, money.
How about favors?
What about Zaxby's?
Okay, start over here, Shannon. Raise your hand if you've ever paid for sex.
Either everyone or no one raised their hand.
Next question.
Raise your hand if you have had sex in a public place or environment.
Okay. Public place or environment. Raise your hand if you ever had sex in a public place or environment.
2 people raised their hands. Alrighty, raise your hand if you give to charity on a regular basis. Raise your hand if you give...
Let's define what regular means. Let's say at least once a month you give to a charity, okay?
That sounds great.
Raise your hand if you ever, on a regular basis, give to a charity.
Either everyone or no one raised their hand.
Who is this person again?
Donna Isabel.
Okay.
She's very curious.
She is very curious about us. It's so awkward.
Raise your hand if you have ever had cosmetic surgery.
Cosmetic surgery. We're talking any kind of enhancement, any kind of
Augmentation.
done it all to any part of your body. Raise your hand.
Either everyone or no one raised their hand.
Okay? You gotta read it.
Raise your hand if you have ever used your status of being on the radio to get something you otherwise would not have gotten. Donna, very nice.
Raise your hand if you've ever used your position on the radio to get something that you should know.
Either everyone or no one raised their hand.
Okay?
And
Jeez, Donna!
this is the last one for Donna. She's
Sweetheart.
very curious.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you plan on staying in Panama City.
Raise your hand if you plan on, let's say for the rest of your life, if that is what you plan on doing, is staying in Panama City. Raise your hand if you plan on staying in Panama City.
Either everyone or no one raised
Those
their
are
hands.
good questions.
Those are good.
Shouts out to, what's her name again?
Donna Isabel.
Donna, you are on top of this. Okay, we've all gone through one question. We got to speed this along.
Yes.
It is 8:45 with that guy Kramer on Island 106. Okay, this next question comes to me from, I can't do that. It's not a raise your hand.
Yeah, because some people wrote specific questions, you know, that you really can't put into a raise your hand question.
Okay, this comes from Lindsay Nelson. Lindsay Nelson, a female, 31 years old, says, raise your hand if you ever thought about getting it on with another member of this morning show. Raise your hand if you ever thought about getting it on with another member of this morning show. Either everyone or no one raised their hand. Holly?
Okay. Let's see. From Tammy Bush, raise your hand if you think that. Raise your hand if you think that you will stay at Island 106.
If you'll stay at Island 106, how long are we going to say?
I don't know. It just says stay.
Let's change that question to, do you feel like you'll, how do you want to word that? That's a
I don't
weird
know.
question.
I don't know.
She kind of put it indefinitely, so we can lump it in there with, you know.
Sure.
Is that like the same question?
Yeah, to me,
I think it is.
yeah.
New question.
New question. Okay.
If we've already answered it, move on.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you wish you had a different career.
Man, I don't want to do this anymore. Raise your hand if you wish you had a different career. Okay. All right. Okay, Holly, the results will be seen on island106.com later today.
Either everyone or no one raised their hand.
Disgruntled.
Alright, here. Let's see.
Gotta speed this long, y'all.
I can't ask that one's
Yeah.
a specific question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is raw and real, folks. Can't make this any more real than it is.
Can't ask
Just
specific
keep passing
question.
them to him.
Okay. This doesn't say who it's from. Raise your hand if you have ever had personal time, in quotations, while taking a bath.
Wow. Personal time while taking a bath. Raise your hand if you've ever had personal time. Miguel, the results?
One person raised their hand.
Okay. Next question. Oh, man. Okay. Okay. Raise your hand if you have a crush on your current boyfriend or girlfriend's other friend. Raise your hand if you have, I don't know who this is from, a crush on, obviously one person will never be able to answer that question.
Okay.
Next question from the same person is, have you ever thought about someone else while having sex with your current partner? Have you ever thought about someone else? My current partner is filming this. One person raised their hand, which will be seen on island106.com. Last question from the same person. Have you ever intentionally gotten someone fired from their job? Raise your hand. Intentionally get someone fired from their job. All right, moving along. This is, I'm sorry, this is Island 106, by the way, 848. We're doing the most personal questions.
Okay, raise your hand if your old high school girlfriend, boyfriend were to become available, or let's not just classify it to just an
If they
old
were
flame.
available, yeah.
If an old flame became available, would you get back together, even if it means leaving a current partner?
Raise your hand.
hand.
Who is that? Of course, Shannon flings the camera over here. If it were to become available, wow. Had a lot of them. Would I try? And this is hard to admit, but one person raised their hand. This video will be seen at island106.com. Miguel?
Alright. Okay, this is from Aaron Hall. Raise your hand if you have ever had sex with more than one person in the same night.
Wow!
Now, this does not include a menage a trois. She's specified in here.
Wow.
So raise your hand if you've ever had sex with more than one person in the same night. Good job, Aaron.
Raise your hand if you've ever had sex with more than one person on the same night.
Either everyone or no one raised their hand.
849 with that guy Kramer. Have you ever had sex with someone while they were driving a car? Now, I know someone that's been able to achieve this goal, and I've always wondered how it was done. I guess I just gave mine away, didn't I? I'm sorry. Raise your hand. Ever had sex while somebody else was driving a car? Raise your hand. One person raised their hand.
All right, let's see. Raise your hand. This is from Marianne Wang, I think. Raise your hand if you have ever stolen anything from Walmart.
Ever stolen anything from the Walmart? Raise your hand. Who stole from Walmart? Holly, the results?
One person raised their hand.
Okay.
Okay, this is from Elizabeth White. Raise your hand if you have had sexual fantasies about anyone on the show.
Sexual fantasies about anyone on the show, raise your hand. The video has been taken, being seen on island106.com.
Either everyone or no one raised their hand.
Last round. Christy Williams asks, have you ever had a same-sex experience? Same-sex experience, raise your hand. Taking the poll. And the video will be seen on island106.com will show that 2 people raised their hand. Last one for Holly.
Raise your hand if you have ever been involved in a romantic relationship with a married person. That's from Heather Howell.
Married person. Raise your hand.
Raise your hand if you were involved in a romantic relationship with a married person.
Okay. Raise your hand. Who is it?
It was either everyone or no one.
Yeah, wow.
Is this Miguel?
Last one for Miguel.
This is from Kim. Raise your hand if you would put your life on the line if someone on the show were in danger.
If you would risk your life for somebody else on the show, raise your hand. Okay, the results.
One person raised their hand.